Hello. Up on the, that don't look right, bench. Today is a 1970 John Deere 110. My kid picked it up on Marketplace, filled it with a little bit, and stuck it out in his backyard. He did get the motor running, carb's leaking, I believe. So our goal is just to get it back together again, getting into a moving situation so it can actually be operated. I know there's a drive belt missing or wasn't on it, and it looks like it's a pretty nasty job getting it in there. But meanwhile, while I was sitting out in the backyard, somebody made a home. Not sure if they had moved out before we moved it to the shop here, but there's nothing in there now, so I'm assuming that they all made it out okay. So let's get the thing up on the bench and the lift and see what we got going on and what we need to make this thing move forward. So to start off, let's just get it to start again so we can check some things out. We'll start with, I just got the choke cables dangling here, and I don't know if there's things missing. I'm assuming there is. Obviously it's the only piece of the air cleaner I have, but we'll get this back on here. We'll drill a small hole here and actually put a cable lock on it to hold the cable in place for the choke, because otherwise it's just going to wander around and choke will be on, off. We're fiddling with trying to see how it runs. So let's do that first. Let's get this hooked up, and then we'll throw a battery in it and see if it'll start. So there you go. Got the choke hooked up. It's working. Threw a battery in it, and it does crank. There's the key. So now we're going to, I don't know, throw some fuel in it, see if it's got fuel, check for spark, and then let's fire this thing up. Okay, I changed my mind. I think I'm gonna fix that leak first. Looks like the float bowl leaking, so we'll drop the carburetor off it and fix the float bowl leak before we start it and burn the shop down. I think I found the problem. So obviously the gasket's torn. So either order something and wait, or we can try and create a gasket out of this piece of cork. That's what I'm going to do, because what the heck. So let's cut that out, get it together, and see if it holds. Wish me luck. If you get an opportunity to test for leaking carburetor after you fixed it, take it. So I just hooked the fuel line up to it, and it's not leaking, so that's good. We'll put the carb back on. So the little cork gasket I made seemed to work just fine, so we'll get it bolted back on and then we'll try to start it. Okay, ran fine. Problem, but it's still leaking gas some. So I did order a kit for it, so I'll have to fix that when that comes in. But for now it runs. We'll try to, I guess next we're going to see how this all works and see if we can make it move forward. There's a belt on there, but there's not one going back here, so we'll figure out how to get that in place. So that'll be next. Let's do some investigating. Not sure exactly how we're supposed to change these belts. There's no belt on it. I'm assuming that they just took it off or it broke or whatever the situation was, but obviously you see you can't get a belt between there and there, so I'm assuming you just take the bolts off and hold the pulley on, put the belt on, and then put the pulley back on. Not sure if that's right, but that's what we're gonna do. Okay, you John Deere people, holy crap, this variator thing is pretty, well, it's kind of simple, but very complex in packing a bunch of shit in a small area. So my first problem was none of the belts were tensioning up. Nothing. These are all loose. Couldn't figure out why. Went and did some checking. This belt is the right one. The back one that I had, they had provided with the tractor, which obviously didn't belong to it, was the wrong one. So I ordered the right one, put that on there, figured that'd fix it. Nope, still everything's loose and wonky. So then down there, roughly in there, if I can see, but there's a little pulley, two pulley system. That center plate pulley there moves back and forth, and that's what changes the ratios on the fly. So when you move this little lever, it moves that pulley and changes the ratio. That was rusted and stuck. So I got that freed up. Still, belt loose as hell. Couldn't figure it out. Tore the whole damn thing apart, dropped everything out, greased it, cleaned it, tried to figure out how the thing worked. Only to find out that the only problem is I was a dumbass. There's a little lever here that actually locks the clutch in the fully, I guess, disengaged position and locks it down like that. Whatever reason. I'm assuming it's a parking brake. So that would be my assumption. All the way down, it locks it. It's a parking brake. I think this is a parking brake. With that all the way locked down, of course all the belts are loose because that's how the clutch works. It disengages all the belts in these things. So all I had to do was just put it back into the position it needed to be in, and also all the belts are tight and everything's wonderful. So with that fiasco caused by me finished and straightened out, let's put it back together, get the battery tray back in here, and we should be able to move it. So I don't think we're gonna bother putting the hood and stuff back on it. We'll just put this all back together over here, make that pretty, and then we'll go out and see if it moves. So I think I'm gonna put this on now. The seat and the foot pans. Might run a wire back there first before I do that, because there's a wire for the tail lights, and eventually obviously we'd want them hooked up. Maybe I'll run a wire in there so I don't have to take the stupid thing back off again. So I'll just run a wire back there and up in here and just leave it sitting both ends. And then we'll put the seat cover back, the seat pan back on, and let's go see if it moves. Okay, it's all back together again. Battery, belt, hood, well, everything that I've got for parts is on it. So all we can do now is let's go test drive this thing and see if it actually works. Got the hood on, bolted up-ish, put the grill back in. It's missing its headlight stuff. I don't know what else is missing for it. Don't know what these things look like. Haven't looked at too many pictures on the internet. So let's go ahead and get it down and fire it up, and let's see if this thing actually works.
So we're just cruising along, checking the variator out. It's sort of working, but not working very well. I'm going to stop here. And as you can hear, the belt's not tensioned right, or the clutch isn't working right. I can't get it in or out of gear. This turned out to be just an issue with the spring that happened to be with the tractor that tensions that rear belt. It was far too heavy of a spring, and wouldn't allow the clutch to actually disengage. So did replace that and did fix that, but other than that, it worked fine. A little smoky. It's run pretty good. But yeah, once I replaced that spring with the right spring in there, the variator became much more responsive and started doing what it actually wanted to do.
Well, there you go. 1970 John Deere 110 moving again. Clutch needs to be adjusted a bit, and the variant needs to be adjusted a little bit too, but I think I'll put a few hours on it running around just to get that new belt set in, and but we'll call that a win. Not sure how long it was down for, but it was quite an easy recovery, I guess we'll call it, just getting parts back on it that had been taken off of it. And it does run good, but you can see it's kind of a mosquito killer, a little oil burning going on. We'll change the oil in the motor and see if that helps out, but we'll call it done. Thanks for hanging out in the shop. We'll see you soon.